Hi everyone, got another favorite for you today. I know so many of you love to see my very dear, beautiful friends, Hazel and Janet, Hazel Newton, Janet Trelaw. We've had many conversations together, and I know you're going to enjoy this one just as much as the previous ones. Hazel and Janet were both past life regressionists and then past life trainers, regressionist trainers, but they've moved beyond that now to focus all of their effort on their Patreon group and bring forward very, very rich material. So Hazel was with Janet, I think in 2010, and they were channeling together when Zach first came through. So I don't know if anything you'd like to say about that, Hazel. That's been 15 years now.
Oh, well, I just feel totally blessed to have met Zach, who feels like an old friend, a cosmic buddy who has guided so many he's given so much guidance during those 15 years. It's just been a remarkable journey with Zach. Would you agree, Janet?
Oh, definitely. I've been a trance channel since I was a child, and then working with Hazel and meeting Zach for the first time very spontaneously. We weren't necessarily looking for him, but he introduced himself as a guide for the future. And in so many different ways, he's helped so many of us. And it really is a joy to bring him through now on Zach's portal on Patreon and to do sessions like this, where he seems to be a very old friend of Pam, and they have these deep discussions, and it's all rather lovely to listen to.
Oh, well, thank you, Janet. It's wonderful. Are you going to prepare to channel? And I'd just like to say a huge thank you to you, Pam, and a very warm welcome to everyone tuning in. It's always such a joy to be here in this circle of light with Pam and with Zach. Your conversations are sublime. You know just the right questions to ask. I always say that, and it's always true. Thank you so much for these inspirational conversations. They've drawn through such wisdom, and as Pam may have suggested before, I'm usually asking Zach the questions. But today, now that you've met me, I'm just going to join everyone doing what I also love, which is listening and receiving. So I'll hop off screen and pass the delight of conversing with Zach to you, Pam, and have a wonderful session.
Thank you so much, Hazel, for all that you do. Thank you. And we can feel the loving presence of Zach coming through, can't we? Particularly when you're with him.
Absolutely. Yes, it doesn't take Janet very long at all.
Welcome, my dears. Welcome, welcome.
Welcome, Zach. It's an absolute joy, as always, to be with you today. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us.
Pleasure, pleasure. Where would you like to begin in this moment of historical time?
Well, exactly that, Zach. I think you've you've pinpointed where I'd like to begin because we are in very big times, aren't we? As I understand, the Earth and humanity has gone through a portal or is in the process of going through a portal right now, and you have referred to it as a new era, a new frequency, and a new bandwidth for humanity and the earth. So I'd love you to expand on that, Zach, if you would.
There are, of course, many leaps that are taken. There are many steps to get to the top of the staircase. This is not only an important one, this is one that most people will feel. Many developments that happen can go without noticing with the busyness of life. However, at the moment, there is such polarity, for one thing, and other such things, that as we shift and change into a new era, most people are starting to feel quite different inside themselves. Now, to expound upon this, when we say different, aware that their reactions, their fundamental spontaneous reactions to news, events, situations, emotions, and so forth, may well be different than they were before. This is not a dumbing down. This is not, oh, suddenly everything is very easy. simply that there is more modification within, there is more harmony with the earth, with the environment around, and therefore the reaction does not come so much from, you can imagine, two things very different hitting one another, coming together like a collision. It becomes quite a force. Instead, there is more of a merging, there is more of an acceptance. And the quicker we come to acceptance with anything that we come across, the quicker that we can come to our own natural feeling regarding it, and if there is any action to be taken. To put this into an example, therefore, if, however, you could imagine you are going along your day just as the same as every other day, and then you receive a piece of news. It could be some exciting news, something wonderful that is happening, or wonderful to a friend or loved one. Or it may also be something that is jarring on your energy field, something that makes you take stock, something that makes you question things. Now, up until relatively recently, this would have to go through many different layers within, not just energetic layers, but through the mental state and so forth. And there can be a lot of, you could call it jiggery pokery that goes on within. What we are starting to find and what we are expecting to sense within people is a far quicker and calmer process where there is more balance. And this is where we are more balance into the reaction and then the choice of action. Now, this all sounds very small, but if you can imagine a very, very large group of people and everybody having a similar experience where it is more of an ease, more of a balanced reaction. We have all been in situations, have we not, where we have reacted and we have said it is out of character. And we may have regretted what we said or did in those moments or even how we felt. However, it is not that it is out of character, it is simply that it is quite jarring. Now, if this isn't happening and you are in a position to be in place, parents receiving information and being able to convey to children and so forth in a far more balanced and calm way reduces fear. So one of the things we are expecting to come out of this is a big reduction in fear. Now, this sounds a little bit paradoxical because at the moment, much of the things that may be happening in your lives, the lives around the world, the globe, and so forth, and in the coming months may normally initiate quite a lot of fear. However, there is far more balance in this new era where we have now moved out of certain bandwidths of energy or frequency state. The earth has, the people have, the whole keyboard of your universe has, into a place which is far more harmonious with the whole rather than the individual and one. Then there is this space to be able to digest, shall we put it, fear in a way that is acceptable, easy to do, and to be able to move past, to remember in those states all the wonderful things that actually balance it out and so forth. So this is a very long answer, I do believe. They will not always be as long as this, but this is just to set the stage to understand that whether we are talking about frequency, whether we are talking of new eras, which can all sound very confusing, actually, if you look into your life, what you start to see is more balance. And what comes from more balance is more freedom. What comes from more freedom is more choice. What comes from more choice is more happiness. Understand, yes?
Yes, and that's an absolutely superb answer, Zach. Thank you, because it really is that fear and resistance makes this whole transformation process much, much more difficult and extended. Whereas if we can be in a state of balance, as you say, or take a breath before we react, or even better, to be in a state of acceptance of what is in order to get to a higher state of being, to create something new, that makes this process much smoother and gentler than it otherwise would be. We are so much a part of this co-creation that is happening right now.
Absolutely. This is the year of creativity, intuition, yes, but more inception of the new ideas, the new inventions, and so forth. So, as a juxtaposition to all of this is a vast amount of creativity. So you could actually say that the more that things feel like they are tumbling down, or the more loss that is felt, the more destruction that is felt, the more creativity can fill that space with innovations to the new. Now, that is not to say, oh, we welcome all the destruction. It is simply to say that whatever that you see in the world, we have the ability as a group, as a whole, as the oneness, to set sights into putting things that are far more harmonious. And you will find that this word of harmony, we are using so much more. The reason being is harmony, even in a vibrational tone, has balance within it. And when we have more harmony, even though it sounds like, oh, we have harmony and more like there's a middle ground, actually, harmony produces the higher states of consciousness. The more harmony and balance we are in, even with a world or environment that does not feel at that time particularly comfortable, or may even use mind, the conscious mind noodle, to say, oh, this isn't quite how I want it. But the more that we actually allow ourselves to go into coherence with it, to find balance, the more a bit like a seed that has been sown, the more harmony that can come from it. And when you get harmony and creativity together, what you get is inventions that are incredibly balanced. And when we say balance, they are good for the whole, not just for the few. They have abilities, aptitudes, other that has a capability across a very, very broad spectrum rather than just a niche. You are finding this with technologies such as the AI and other such things, which touch pretty much everybody in the world or will do in the future. If there is harmony, balance, if it is fueled by love, and we are not talking of romantic love, we are talking about the source of the universe, what love energy actually is, which is an energy that desires betterment, then it can all be produced in such a way that, for the most part, at least, it enhances and can enhance nature and other such things when the some of the nitty gritty, the startup of these things is ironed out. Understand? Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And it's a wonderful reminder as well, Zach, that it is our energy from which everything is created. And I think we haven't thought of that during our lifetime generally. We've thought that reality arrives to us externally and hits us from the outside. And it's now a recognition that what we are creating as humanity with our own energy, our emotional set point, our state of being, is changing the state of the world.
Think of
Very powerful.
inventions, my dear. I'm sorry I interrupted to
No, no, please go ahead.
When you think of inventions, if you look at different eras of time, many of the main inventions and the money, the finance that is put to them, if they are coming from a time of vast, uh, how we say, collective fear, you may find it is being put into weapons. It is put into things to protect, to be defensive. This is just simply the way it is. This is not good, bad. This is just how it is. If you are, as you are in this particular year of your earth, of the way you are living now, if you're in a time of creativity, if the energy, as you said, the mass energy, which is so potent, it is like a soup here on earth that none of you actually notice, otherwise you'd never get through your days. If it is coming out of a place of creativity, as we say, balance and harmony, you can see how this inspires inventions that are all far more about growth rather than protection and defense. And if we are looking at growth, therefore you can see how much this can actually help nature and other. When we are looking at things to heal, to repair, to grow anew, to be on the next level. And so when we come from this place, which is letting go of the fear, knowing that you are living in a planet, of course, some level of polarity will always be there. You have night and day and so forth. It is just how it is. But if we can put it into the context of, say, having it as only a small percentage, and then putting a far larger percentage of the energy into these ways of being, what you start to get is a population of the field of growth energy, of creative energy, of betterment. And it is, as you know, different, Pamela, one of the things that Janet would say, I bang on about. Ha ha, she thinks I don't hear her. She says, oh, Zachariah bangs on about this. And it is very true. It is very true. The fact that to be aware that as you allow change to change you, because change is always, always, always happening, you have the power to set the course for that change, to allow it to be a collective energy, to not just desire betterment for self. That is very, very small thinking, but betterment for all. And then what you start to get is this wondrous level of awareness, of connection, of ideas, of coming together. And of course, my dear friend, with your work, you are knowing that these portals are opening up as well to allow other dimensional energy, other energies from the cosmos to be able to help. It is not to override and to give all the ideas as if you are little children in kindergarten and you are needing someone else to come along and to tell you how it is. You are grown, but to come together more as a partnership to be able to give ideas from places which have already gone through this upgrade, you could call it, of energy frequency, to be living in a physical world whilst on a higher plane of existence, and then being able to materialize that and manifest that in a physical way, which can be for the benefit of all. Understand? Yes.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful. And thank you, Zach. And my understanding from the astrology is that 2025 is potentially the greatest year of change, but therefore potentially our biggest year of mastery to date. Would you agree with that?
This hits the nail on the head. Does it not? Exactly. And this is why this is a gentle reminder that as much as we embrace and open our hearts to a vast change, what we will see is even more likelihood of fallout. What can come into our awareness is either side, the real black and the real white, rather than the gray in between. And so if we keep ourselves, everything that we have been saying in this conversation, in this place of centeredness, of awareness, of love for ourselves and for the world in which we live, have the benefit to be able to capitalize on the astrology, capitalize on what the planets, movements, and other such things, the other ways that are coming through the energy, to be able to utilize them without having to sit for hours and hours and hours, really sort of doing this like when we were monks and so forth, but to actually allow it to populate your system, allow yourself to be moved by what is happening, because in that movement it is still you, but you are inspired to become part of this great possibility. Let us put it this way: it is a great potential for the vast change, but it is likely we will see even more of the polarities to get to not to get to that change. That is the wrong way of putting it. It is not that it has to be, it is just that it comes into your awareness, particularly when you are focusing on this trajectory of change, of betterment. Understand? Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And my sense is that Zach, what you're sharing with us is that we have to step into that sense of inner power, sovereignty, co-creation, and really move from anxiety and fear into excitement. and they're both quite kind of there's both quite kind of jazzed up emotions, but one is a positive expression and the other is negative. So if we can feel excited rather than anxious and fearful, that will serve us and the earth much better.
Most definitely. And again, this is your paradoxes, is it not? On one hand, we have to be very, very sovereign, very aware of self, very self-assured, very comfortable in self, whilst at the same time surrendering to the greater energy, surrendering to the universe being within you and you part of the universe, and therefore allowing the flow of the universe, allowing the flow of the planetary systems, allowing the flow of the earth, the seasons to be with you. Some people this year may well get involved with such very simple things, eating with the seasons, eating local produce from the area that is produced in those seasons, are becoming harmonious with what is in the environment. Now, that is not to say if you do this, everything will be better. It is simply to say that as we become more surrendering to the greater whole, the more we find awareness on how that can be invested in self, how it can actually shape and be comfortable and also bring energy into self to be in this very coherent state of being with what is around whilst remaining incredibly sovereign. So the sovereignty is not about individuality as such. When we say the self is connected to the whole always. The self is more of a term of energy. The self is the individual part of you that is different from everybody else. It is the uniqueness within you, whilst accepting that everything that you are is in accordance. You are shaping other people's worlds and they are shaping yours. Not just the people that are very close to you, but further and further away, like the analogy of the butterfly wings. What you do, what you think has bearance on others, and what they do does on you. Therefore, it is very useful to remind yourself of the sovereignty of self, whilst also being aware that to actually take that further, for that actually to be of benefit to yourself and to others, it is surrendering to the greater whole energy too. Does this make sense to you, my dear?
Yes, and it reminds me of something you said in the past, Zach, which is going beyond the consciousness of the individual self, moving into one consciousness. And I'd love you to expand on that.
Mm. So we are not asking everybody to have feeble minds. We are not saying, oh, forget all the things that you know, all the things that you like and dislike, all your opinions, blah, 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 and go into this oneness. This would just be like a soup which loses all its flavor. It's like if you made up a soup of lots of different vegetables and then you blended it all together, you would get a particular taste, but everything would taste the same. This is not what we are going for. We still want you to have your individuality. However, as we said, this is more on a level of the purity of your heart. Okay, what do we mean by purity of heart? This is the uniqueness. This is the part of you that is not overly touched by very raw emotions, very strong feelings, situations, traumatic happenings, and so forth. This is the part of you that is evident. However broken you are, however healed you are, in every way that you can think of that, this pureness within you is like the little kernel within. This is the part. But what really makes life special, you could have that and not incarnate at all. You could just be bobbing around in the ether, ha ha, as if we do, but you know what I mean, and not bother with the whole idea of incarnation. One of the great joys of incarnation, one of the reasons why souls want to incarnate time and time again, is to see how they can do this blend. How can I still be in the soup of humanity? How can I still want to be part of everything while still remaining part of my consciousness, this unique kernel of self, this pure heart? And what it really is is rather than holding it on so tightly and saying, this is me, this is me, this is me, this is what I think, this is what you think, blah, blah, blah. It is accepting that this part of you will change as well. This is allowing yourself to become part of the greater consciousness, which has the ability to evaluate you. What we mean by this allows you from where you are at, due to your connection of the collective consciousness, for it to have a positive effect on your unique pure heart to evaluate, not just in frequency, in something that can be measured, but in the state of being, so that when you leave this life, your soul feels that you developed, that there was progress. This part of the universe, the dimension that you live in, and so forth, even the fact that you have linear time, a before and an after, a past and a future, there will always be a desire for progression, for advancement. The way you see this in the universe and in the cosmos, of course, you see this the whole time, my dear, is expansion. The way you see this with an individual consciousness is evolution. And this time of history, for all of you going through this, by allowing yourself to have this, what we were talking of, to be aware of the self, but to be able to infuse and blend into the greater collective consciousness, gives you far more energy, far more ability to expand in your pure heart to this elevated state. And this is why we say this is a ripple. It is a waveform. You would think in physics and other such things. You are not, all jagged edges. You are like a wave that comes through. And these are the waves, just like you see in the sea and the ocean. They can push against each other, cause vast waves. But actually, you can come together, and it can come together a bit like a swirling, wonderful vortex of energy that learns how to blend and to be able to affect in a very gentle way each other. This is why we say if you were a hermit, you saw nobody else, but you worked purely on yourself. You are not just helping yourself. This is a waveform that goes way beyond what you think of as physical kilometers or miles or so forth. And this actually has a blending with everything else. And then that will then be affected through the energy system and manifested in lighter, brighter ways within. Understand? Yes.
Yeah, it's really beautiful because the way you're speaking, Zach, it's as if reality we will realize is so much more malleable than we thought of it in the past, so much more flowing and spacious. That's a word that keeps coming to my mind, the spaciousness with this collective expansion that we're going to go through. Beautiful. And I understand that this month there is more light on the earth than we've ever had before. Can you comment on that for us, please?
Mm-hmm. What type of light are you speaking of, my dear?
I think it is light from the photon belt. It's very high frequency, but I'd love you to enlarge on that because you're you have a 26th dimensional view of this. And so anything you can add to that would be really helpful.
Yes, the reason why I asked this question is really for audience. Haha,
Oh, I
those.
see. Okay.
The reason being is when we say there's going to be a lot more light, of course, since you were babies and very first opened your eyes, you saw light. And this is what can be picked up by the retina and everything, which is very, very clever, very, very clever part of the brain. And it is actually goes into different parts of your energy field. Now, it is natural that when we talk about light, we think of brightness. We think of light that the more that you turn up, a bit like a bulb, the more that you turn up, the light it gets brighter and brighter and can start hurting the eyes and so forth. Now, the light that you are referring to, and this is very, very true, this is another frequency within the light that the eyes do not pick up. And this is with you even when you are sleeping. So we often think that at nighttime, wherever we are on the earth, our nighttime, it is dark, we are there with the moon, we can relax, blah, 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 we go to sleep. Well, the light is prominent as well. Now, this light, rather than it being able to help you see and be able to go and do these things, what this light actually does is it is carrying information. The information interacts with the cells of your body and with your energy field. Now, this is not like an encyclopedia. This is not information that you wake up and you suddenly think, oh my goodness, I'm a brilliant scientist. Ha ha! Oh my goodness, I know everything about the world. This is not knowledge of the earth per se, what you are getting. The knowledge is the knowledge of how the energy system has the ability to have space beyond the physical. Okay, now this is all sounding very confusing, but actually, what it simplified means, it is teaching the energy field in a very gentle way because it is just there, like a hum in the background. What the light is doing is reminding the energetic part of yourself that exists forever, way beyond this incarnation, way before this incarnation, of how to be. And again, it is about collective energy, how to be vaster than the own body, how to spread energy out. Those who are very au fait with their own energy system, those who maybe are energy workers or meditate or so forth and are aware, they may even have found that recently where they can feel the energy body extending far further from the physical body, that the extension is maybe 2, 3, up to 5 times bigger than it was before. And when they have noticed this, maybe they've even put in their energy, so that's not very safe. However, again, as this is happening, what is actually happening is there is a literal expansion of energy taking place. A bit like when you've had a long day, my dear friend Pamela, when you sit on the sofa, you're a very tidy person, so perhaps you don't, but do you ever just splurge out? Make
Oh,
your
I
whole
do. At the
body.
end of very long days, I absolutely do. Yes.
Doesn't it feel good?
Yes, wonderful.
Now, you can't actually live your life like that. You can't get on with all your work and so forth. But could you imagine if your energy, rather than feeling so compact, so needed to be so tight, to the density of the physical body, that it is still completely in balance with the physical, but has a chance to splurge, let us use this word, and be bigger, then not only are you getting a greater level of expansion and awareness, but your energies are overlapping naturally, not just with other people's, but with animals, with insects, with nature. And what you are getting is a two-way communication in the light. Now, that communication is not language. It does not come from noodle. What the language is the language of love. And what love truly is a source energy. So as you are doing this, imagine you are going for a walk. Okay, you are walking in the forest and your energy is spilling out. For some people, that may just feel like they are more connected to nature. They are aware. Maybe they have been walking in the trees and they've not really seen them, but they're like, oh gosh, I really love these trees. I really love being here. And that is how it's interpreted. But actually, what is happening is your energy is spilling out, and you are getting this reference communication because nature responds to feeling the energy. And so, what you are doing is this wonderful symbiotic relationship where you are actually feeding through your energy field and nurturing and giving energy and giving information. So, as the light gives you information, what is happening is you are then sending on your information. Nature is sending its information to you. You go off. You go to another town, another part of the world. You are carrying that information and then you are sharing it. So, from this part of the light that has been getting brighter and brighter, energetically speaking, the more it is talking to the body, the more that everybody's energy fields are expanding, the more communication, that overlapping is happening, which brings us right back to the very start of our conversation regarding the harmony and the collective energy. You see how all of these things, they all have an effect on each other. Understand? Yes.
Yeah, that's really remarkable, Zach, because I didn't realize that our energy body was now up to 5 times greater than it was before. That is absolutely remarkable. And that's been accelerated through the recent weeks, hasn't it? That's remarkable. So
Absolutely. It
that
started about 2.5 years ago, but we have really got to the point where people can feel it. And this, just to say, to remind from what we were talking about surrendering to the process, keeping your sovereignty, keeping yourself, but surrendering. What if you do not surrender to it? And this does not have to be again conscious mind, but just energetically, unless you allow it to happen, you could feel quite exposed. You can imagine if your energy is all out here and you've got all of these other energies, but you are someone who is still understandably but very focused on the more uncomfortable emotions of fear and so forth, which do come up. We do understand this. But if you are living every moment and then you are feeling these energies, you can feel quite exposed because you can sense in a way that there is other energy around. The best thing to do if you are feeling this way, rather than get all head involved, is simply take stock, take a moment, close eyes, breathe, and just say, I surrender to my surroundings. Now, that is not the same as allowing all sorts of other things in that you do not want. Just, I surrender to, you could add the word coherence in there as well, the coherence of my surroundings, and it will immediately start to feel a lot more comfortable. But people who are used to towns and then they go to nature, that's where they might really, really feel it because it is not what they're used to, what they are used to being in coherence with. And vice versa. Those who live in the countryside, who suddenly come into a city or town, could feel it all very overwhelming. And it is because there's so much overlaying. So it is good to remember whatever your normality is for you will likely be the most comfortable because your energy has naturally worked itself into a coherence that is comfortable for it. But if you are going into other vicinities, this is also very useful. This is a bit like training, like exercise. It is just being aware that it may feel different than you expect and to surrender to allowing it to happen because this will help you long term. Understand? Yes.
Yes, and that really starts to explain increased telepathy with trees and animals and birds and increased healing ability. That's how it happens with this overlapping energy. I mean, I've particularly noticed walking in the forest in the morning, it feels much more magical and elemental. Um, the elemental beings seem to be everywhere. In a way that they weren't, I mean, they were there before. It's just my consciousness hadn't expanded to really sense them before.
And in a very natural way. If you had been working and you'd been really sort of focused or you sat under a tree meditating, you could feel all of these things. But now, is it not wonderful? You gather some time back in your day. You do not have to do these things. It is just there. And their awareness of you is rising as well. Good, eh? Good, eh?
Yes, it's really beautiful. There is magic in every moment in nature. It's absolutely beautiful. And another area I'd like to ask about, Zach, I anticipated with the astrology, Pluto in Aquarius, that we would start to get a greater understanding of the deeper cosmos in these times. And just in the last week, I've heard that there's the most powerful telescope that's ever been developed in Chile is coming online in summer, and also NASA have developed, I think it's called Sphere X, which is a very powerful telescope which can actually detect millions of galaxies in a way that has not been possible before. So how is our understanding going to change with these scientific developments? And my favorite question, how is astrology going to change?
So first of all, just thinking what we're talking about creativity and invention and the desire within to learn knowledge, expand. And you see these wonderful inventions, these telescopes that go way, way beyond what the capacity that the scientists could even imagine before was out there. So just like when a supernova was first discovered, when these such phenomena were discovered, black holes and other, do not be surprised if there is a bit of a renaissance in astronomy, first of all, because there are going to be many new things that are, many may make it sound like, 20s, 30s, but there's certainly going to be new discoveries made that will crack open that jar, just like when people split the atom. This is going to crack open, and this will start to give more credence to many of the different factors to do with quantum physics that are at present in the scientific world, certain things that are still considered theoretical. Okay? However, such things that will be discovered will give a physicality to it that then explains many of the things. So some of the things may well be brand new, and some of the things may be, well, this now explains everything that we knew of this. By looking further, as it were, and into the vastness as well, as you talk about, millions of galaxies and so forth, this also gives more of a map of a structure to do with the patterns within the universe. Just as there are patterns in sacred geometry, you see the patterns in nature, you see the spirals, the flowers of life, all of these things. Starting to see that not just mirrored and reflected, but way, way beyond that from what the telescopes can do. Now, this is all in the realms of astronomy and particular areas of science and so forth. What this means for astrology, however, is that many of the myths and legends that are connected to many of the various planets, transits, and so forth, and many of the further reaching the dwarf planets that you talk about and other such things, these will be able to give a far more formulated and clear, precise view. It is highly likely this will take astrology far more into a realm that is also dubbed in a very scientific way. So the mythology and the stories will still be there, but this will give like a greater depth. It is a bit like when you read a synopsis of a book, and then suddenly you have the whole tome of the book. You understand. In terms of astrology itself, we think it is unlikely that the difference will be coming clear very, very quickly, like it will in astronomy. However, the knock-on effect that we are expecting, and those who are already looking further out will suddenly be able to go, here's the nuts and bolts of it. This is what we thought, this is what we knew, and yet we can see a clarity with it. It is the very best of technology coming together with the very best of storytelling, of myth and legend, which are very, very, very real realms in themselves, and with potentials and progress, and the ability to see into the future of all the benefits, all the different good things that can come, and also other such things. So it is more like there is a melding together, and something that many people will be able to get far more of a grasp on over the years, because it will be some time before, of course, the findings are fed back into the mainstream environment. However, those on the cutting edge will be able to see very quickly. Yes, understand, my dear.
Yes, absolutely. So this expansion of understanding in the cosmos is reflecting our inner expansion of consciousness too.
Of course. Is that not the beauty of the universe? The micro and the macro always reflect each other. And when people stamp their feet and say, no, it is not at all. Well, I think they just need a little bit more of that light to come in for them to really see what is happening. When you take your telescope, these new telescopes, and you see further, well, into, as you could say, into the past than ever before. You will be surprised at the similarity to now. Understand? Yes.
Yes, and my feeling is also it won't just be expansion and understanding out in the cosmos, it will be expansion and understanding deep down in the seas and the earth as well. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just as you said about the patternings, the reflections, they could well be, if those open to interpretation, who are utilizing the microscopes, the telescopes, and so forth. It is not beyond comprehension that in the not too distant future, the findings that can be seen from outside will give another piece of the puzzle regarding the deep intricacies of the human body and all living creature bodies, but also to do the makeup deep down inside the core of the earth and within the oceans and so forth. As I said, there is a reflection, and what can be learnt from way beyond can give an interpretation, a way of being seen, which then can help again with more advancements that have not been seen before. Understand? Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And why does the Earth have such a pivotal point or part to play in the galaxy, please, Zach?
It is to do with the polarities that are here. Here it is, this tiny, tiny little speck. And yet, the amount of, how to say, the extent of experience that can be had on this tiny little planet, whether you are human, whether you're a tree, whether you're a rock, whether you're a lizard, whether you're a little fishy in the sea, the amount of experience in the sense of linear time is so incredibly vast. There is an energy field, just like the energy field around people. This has created such a strong consciousness field that emanates from the earth. Part of it is Gaia. Let us simply call her Gaia, because the earth has taken on such a very strong consciousness. But this is the amalgamation of all experiences of everything that has ever lived on the earth since things started living upon the earth. Now, because of this, just like you may get a very strong electromagnetic field, this has a very strong, let us simply call it a consciousness field. And that consciousness changes frequency and so forth. That consciousness is affecting the cosmos. Initially quite close to the earth, and then expanded and expanded. And I know the confusion often to do with the cuboid of the universe that is spoken of. This is really the levels. The cuboid is the furthest reaches of where this consciousness of Earth has touched and affects the astrology and so forth. Of course, it could seem very arrogant for a person otherwise to say, oh, well, on our tiny little planet, we are affecting this is this. But actually, on an energetic level, this is very, very true. And this is why the expansion is so important. Because the more an expansion happens in harmony, the more stabilizing effect it has. So when things speed up, as they tend to happen when there is expansion, just as if you are speeding up in an automobile or on a train or on a plane, it can go faster and faster. Then it can start feeling like it is starting to be a little bit out of control. The stabilizing effect of an expanded consciousness awareness allows things to stabilize in such a fashion that it can be useful for all. Let us simply say it that way. And so, as well as the expansion being useful in an incarnation for your own experiences, it is also being useful for what it is doing within your cuboid of the universe. Now, not been able to say any of that before, but now you are in the new era. Now you are fully uh, feet, knees, legs, whole body in the age of Aquarius, that people call it, and so forth. Now you are able to be feeling that, to know the truth of that. Does this make sense to you, my dear?
Yes, it absolutely does. And yeah, absolutely beautiful. It's that you're giving us just some absolutely stonking answers today. Magnificent. And just finally, is there any message that you'd like to leave us with today?
We have gone very, very deep into what this means on energetic level. And we've talked about expansion, we've talked about evolution and so forth. What there truly is to remember is how to lead a good life. That old saying, a good life. We are not talking about good and bad in terms of polarities here, in terms of a moral way of saying good or bad. What we mean by good is a life that feeds you, that gives you joy, and through that helps others. Truly, when we are going through such vast changes, not just within ourselves, but within the whole keyboard of the universe that we live in, if we bring it all back, particularly if we are feeling overwhelmed or we are feeling jaded or there is just too many things to think of and responsibilities, it feels like life is going too quick. If we bring it all back and say to ourselves, I desire a good life, then what you have the ability to do is to be able to modify the speed of all of these things happening within you, because there is intelligence within you, within every single cell. Your heart is within every cell of you. The universe is in your heart. You are absolutely saturated, as it were, with your own energy and life. And so if you say, I desire a good life for me, all different thoughts and feelings may pop up on what that means. Maybe you want more excitement, maybe you want less excitement. Whatever it actually means, turn it back to what you can do. And the one thing that you can do purely for yourself is to be in that state of surrender, in that state of sovereignty, and in that state of desiring a good life. Because the more that you desire a good life for you, the more capacity you will have for those wavelengths to just beautifully at every time populate the field of life around you, all of your environment and further away. And before you know it, you are giving a good life to others as well. So within all of this mind-boggling, all the things we speak of, and you may want to take it further, do your own research into all those different things, or you may simply want to sit back and go, isn't it a marvel to be alive? Isn't it incredible to be in this body? Isn't it a wondrous thing to know that just my thoughts, my feelings, just my being part of the planet has an effect on everything else? And in so doing, you can take a moment in every moment to reclaim that moment for yourself of desire for a good life. Understand? Yes, my dear.
Yeah, and that's a really fabulous point to end on, Zach. You've been so loving and so profound and so expansive today, and I just bless you for your time, your wisdom. We always learn so much from you. So thank you so much for being with us today, yet again. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Pam, for holding this highly expansive, as you say, conversation. And with the revelation of such, as you also say, stonking answers, so fulfilling and so expanding, and so many new ways of looking at things. I think that's what's very exciting today, Zach. I know you've said that this is the first time you've been able to share some of these things. So that's also very cutting edge, very exciting. Pam, thank you so much for all of the ways that you've helped bring through Zach's wisdom and guidance and his sublime meditations to a wider circle.
Yeah, I'm so happy to do that because it really does help people. People love his deep dives, his chitty chats, his meditations. You know, it's exquisite work and and again a very unique voice in these huge times of transformation that is so loving and so helpful for us. So, yeah, just grateful to know all three of you. Feel very
Oh, thank you. It's always a wonder, and I'd love to say to your family of frequency, if today's message has touched any of you and you would like to explore more of Zach's transmissions, you're obviously warmly invited to find us through the links below. There's a growing circle of us walking this path with Zach together, and thank you to those of you who are already part of our Zach's portal. We love you, Zach. Thank you for all you share with us. It really is so helpful, not just to know about what's going on the outside of the world, but really how we can best navigate our inner emotions. And that means a lot to us.
Pleasure, my dears. It is not always easy to live incarnated in times of such vast transitions. Therefore, any help that we can give just to help you along the way to live your lives in the way that you want to live and desire to live, we are here. We are here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Janet.
thank you all.
Thank you. Bye bye.